I'm coming to you from a place called Finikoudes in Larnaca, Cyprus. The translation is kind of the street of palm trees. And you can see I'm at one end of this street, and I'll pan right down there. So you can take a look at the street of palm trees, and it sits right on the beach. This is pretty much, I don't want to say it's like downtown. It's not like the center of the city, but it's very much the go-to place for people in Larnaca. Small city, very small city, maybe, I don't know, 70,000 people tops. But it's cozy. So I'm sitting here, and I thought I would get a video out to you about what's going on with the Tokyo Games and Belarusia and Kristina Timanovskaya. And this is the Belarus track and field athlete who has now traveled to Austria. She got on a plane and she traveled to Austria. She sought refuge in the Polish embassy, and she actually got a human rights visa for Poland. And she didn't go to Poland. She didn't go to Warsaw. She decided to go to Austria. So Austria flew her to their country in order to protect her. Now, protect her from what? Here is the story, everybody. Here's the story, and this whole thing just sounds very, very fishy. Very fishy indeed. So she was ready to run in the 4x400 relay. I think her event is the 200 meters, but she was set to run in the 4x400. And there were some other athletes that had issues and they couldn't compete. And well, she wasn't set, and they called her in to run that race actually. So something like that was going down. There was a bunch of people, there were a bunch of athletes that were ready to run for Belarusia in Belarus. They were going to run in that 4x400. And for some reason, they couldn't run in that race, and they called in Timanovskaya to run in that race, and she had some sort of breakdown, some sort of fit, and she was lashing out at the Belarusian Olympic Committee, and she said some things about the way they operate. I don't know. She basically just had a meltdown, right? I think that's the moral, that's the story of this Olympics, is mental illness for these highly trained, well-paid, fine-tuned athletes, the best athletes in the world. Well, they've all got mental issues. They're all crazy, it seems. But here you have Timanovskaya. She throws a fit, and the Belarusian Olympic Committee, they say, you know what? Just forget about it. Just go back. So they called her back to Minsk, to the country, right? And she says, crap, now I'm afraid for my life. Her husband gets on Instagram or something and does a video, Twitter, I don't know, and says he's afraid for his life. And he goes to Ukraine, of course, to seek refuge. And Kristina Timanovskaya goes to the Polish embassy, or better yet, the Polish embassy says, okay, Kristina, we understand that you're afraid for your life because you've been called back to Minsk because you criticized the Belarusian Olympic Committee, so we're going to give you refuge in the Polish embassy. That's pretty much the gist of the story. I'm really trying to understand what the hell is the big deal here, why she had to go to the Polish embassy, and why there's been this whole international scandal now. And of course, the narrative is that you can't speak freely in Belarusia. You can't. You have to be worried about the dictator Lukashenko because he's cracking down now on athletes and free speech and all of this crap. I don't understand it. Look, here's my take on this. I sense this is BS. I could be wrong. Maybe she does have a reason to be afraid, but I sense this is BS. Number one, I think the deep state, they know that Lukashenko is a sports fanatic. He used to actually be the head of the Olympic Committee, but he's really into sports. And the IOC actually made him resign as head of the Olympic Committee. So that's the one thing. They want to kind of stick it to Lukashenko. I think that's one overarching issue as to what's going on. The other thing that we need to remember is that, and I'm going to pull up the quote here from Blinken, is that they're trying to find more and more reasons to go after Belarus. And what better reason to go after Belarus than the Olympics? They always pull this crap. They did it in Sochi. They're going to do it for the Beijing Games that are coming up, the Winter Games. They always do this crap. Whenever they want to spark some international controversies, they always do something at the Olympic Games to cause some sort of politicized issue. This is always done. And check out the tweets from Blinken. This is hilarious, because here you have the United States, you have Anthony Blinken coming out and saying, where is that freaking tweet? Lukashenko regime sought to commit another act of transnational repression, attempting to force Olympian Kristina Timanovskaya to leave simply for exercising free speech. Such actions violate the Olympic spirit and are affront to basic rights and cannot be tolerated. The U.S. ambassador to Belarus, Julie Fisher, said, thanks to the quick action of Japanese and Polish authorities, Timanovskaya is able to evade the attempts of the Lukashenko regime to discredit and humiliate this Tokyo 2020 athlete for expressing her views. Now, I'm rambling on, but it's hard to do videos out in the streets, guys. It really is. But here's my take on this. Something happened at the 4x400 meter relay team. Something went down, and some athletes couldn't compete. Fine, I don't know, whatever. Maybe they felt ill. Maybe they had some injuries. Whatever. So Christina's going to compete. For some reason, she blows a gasket, right? And now we have this huge international controversy. Look, if you're not going to compete anymore, right? If there's no reason for you to be in Tokyo, then it's absolutely natural for you to go back home. What the hell are you going to do in Tokyo? If you don't want to compete in the events, then go home. So I don't understand what the big deal is. The fact that the Belarusian Olympic Committee called her back home sounds perfectly normal to me. You don't want to compete. You're pissed off at the Olympic Committee. Then come back home. Stop being an Olympian. It sounds absolutely rational to me. What are you going to do? Hang out at the Tokyo Olympics and just chill out? Why? Why? You're there to compete. If you don't want to compete, go back to Minsk. If you don't want to be an athlete because you hate the Olympic Committee, don't be an athlete. Plain and simple. I mean, Lukashenko and the Belarusian government should do this. This is what they should do. They should come out with a statement and just say this. Kristina Timanovskaya does not want to compete with the Belarusian Olympic team, and she wants to move elsewhere. She wants to become an Austrian citizen or a Polish citizen. We revoke her passport and her citizenship, and we wish her good luck. That's what they should say. And just cut it loose. Cut it loose. That which you cannot untie, you have to cut. That's what Alexander the Great said about the Gordian knot. Remember that. That which you cannot undo, you have to cut loose. You have to cut it. That's what Alexander the Great did when he saw that big Gordian knot, and they said you have to untie it. He took his sword and he chopped it. And that was his statement. I can't undo this, so just cut it loose. And that's what the Lukashenko government should do. Just come out with a statement and say we wish her the best of luck. There's no place for her on the Olympics anymore because she doesn't want to be part of the Olympic team, and she doesn't want to be a Belarusian citizen. We wish her luck in her new country with her new nationality, whether it's Austrian or Polish, and goodbye. Instead, now you have Blinken talking about human rights, or the U.S. ambassador in Belarus talking about human rights. Give me a freaking break. Did the Austrians come out and offer to give Julian Assange refuge? Did the Polish come out and offer to give Julian Assange refuge in the embassy? Did they give him a visa for human rights, a human rights visa? No, not at all. We didn't see any of that. And Blinken or the United States talk about human rights. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's absurd. The United States deplatformed a sitting president of the United States. And you're going to talk to the world about free speech and human rights? You're deplatforming people every single day, colluding with big tech to deplatform people and to silence them and to prevent them from banking and prevent them from voicing their opinions on various topics. You're putting lockdowns on countries. You're forcing people to take jabs. You're forcing people to get passports. You're going to talk to Belarus about human rights? But understand, Belarus didn't lock down, and they're not forcing people for passports. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. I'm not saying Lukashenko's not a dictator or is not a tough regime. Maybe. I don't know. He is a dictator, sure. He's been in power for a while, yeah. But he did win the elections. Not by 80%, but he did win the elections. Maybe by 60%, 55%. So, you know, if that counts for anything, he did win democratic elections. So he is the president. But you're going to lecture the world about human rights. Blinken, really? The Biden White House, really? Is that the route you're going to go? You have people sitting in prison in the United States because they decided to go and protest. Not even protest, they decided to show up at a march in Washington, D.C., and they've been in prison for 6 months and counting in solitary confinement. No charges have been brought up against them. And you're going to talk to the world about human rights? Roger Stone? Carter Page? What about all these people? What about their human rights? I could go on and on and on. You deplatformed the sitting president of the United States. You have zero standing to talk about human rights to any country in the freaking world. Not to mention all the restrictions and crap we have to wear on our face and passports. And anyway, don't get me started. Look, I smell some sort of BS PR scheme being played out here, a false flag. I think that this to me, on the face of it, it sounds really simple. I don't want to compete. Okay, come home. But something else is going on. Maybe my opinion, maybe they got to Timanovskaya and they created this controversy for her. She's now starting a GoFundMe page. Go figure. So now she's going to cash in on all of this. GoFundMe page so she can start her new life in Poland. That's the headline, Poland or Austria or something. So now she's going to make her, she's going to cash in on this as well. This all smells really, really fishy. They did the same crap at, I remember during the Crimea stuff in 2014, they pulled the same crap at RT. Some of the journalists got up and they said, I can't work for a TV station that supports the annexation of Crimea and all this nonsense. And one of the news anchors that came out with that statement and quit on air, a year later, it was found out that she was working for like the National Endowment of Democracy or the the PNAC, the New American Century Progress or Project for a New American Century. Like she was actually recruited by them so that she can make that statement on air and create the whole controversy, once again to play up that controversy of human rights and annexation of Crimea and Putin is evil and Putin is a dictator. I smell the same type of thing here, because on the face of it, this story sounds absolutely silly and actually makes sense. To me, it makes sense. You don't want to compete, come home. For whatever reason, come home. There's no reason for you to be in Tokyo. Your Olympic stay is over, and that's that. Athletes do that all the time when they're done with their competition. Everybody, athletes don't hang out. Most athletes don't hang out in the city. That's a fact. A lot of them go home after their event is done and they've won their medal or they finish. They go home. They don't hang out for the closing ceremony. A lot of them don't. They have other obligations and other stuff that they want to do, and they go home. So if you're not going to compete and you're not going to do anything, and the Olympic Committee calls you home, then you go home. This whole controversy, this whole free speech, human rights thing sounds crazy. So now there's an investigation going on, and Belarusia has, Belarusia, they've actually submitted their papers to the IOC to explain what's happened on their side, but the IOC is going to do a whole investigation on all of this, right? Of course. Now they have to open up an investigation, human rights investigation. This is all about demonizing Belarusia, taking a jab at Lukashenko, sucker punching him. That's what I think it's about. And I'm not a Lukashenko fan. I'm just saying that this whole thing smells fishy. It smells really, really suspicious. Anyway, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think. The Duran.locals.com is where you will find all our videos and more. Free to sign up, free to join, free to consume the content. So you will find me there, Alexander there, the Duran there, and of course the Duran shop where you can pick up a cool hat like this USA Shield hat, and 10% off when you use the code Real News. And here you just have a car that just kind of decided to drive on the sidewalk. Anyway, I'm gonna sign out there. 10% off, use the code Real News. Super U, Odyssey, BitChute, Rumble. Check us out there. Take care.